Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Growing Wild Farm and Garden. I'm glad to see you here. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the bells for notifications, so anytime that I upload something new, you'll get notified. And of course, if you like the content of today's video, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. It's very helpful so that I know what to continue making for you guys or what maybe to shy away from. So today, we're actually talking about composting. Not composting in the way that you would think of, whereas I'm talking about kitchen scraps and, cardboard boxes and things like that, but I'm also talking a little bit more about grass clippings and other things that maybe you wouldn't think about composting or that you think that you need more of in order to compost. Now, there's also cold composting, but essentially it's just throwing things in a pile, letting them age on their own just like nature would allow, and either piling more on top and just continuing to add to that pile, or like this, which may not get added, but this is a bunch of the brush that you just saw us cutting back from the polk, from the elm tree that we just picked out of here, some of the old honeysuckle, pretty much anything. I'm leaving it right here because I know it's going to turn brown, it's going to dry out, it's going to age. Underneath that, the worms are going to start getting to work. Or once it's dry, I can add it to our actual traditional composting, which I'm going to show you real quick. So I'm over here by our traditional compost. I would call this a hot compost pile, but really, I don't ever actually get out here and turn it as often as I should. The more often I turned it, the better off it would be. But to be completely honest, I'm a little lazy. I'll just have to own it. I'm lazy. I come out here and I empty the kitchen scrap compost bucket, which is basically a coffee can that we put all of our compost scraps in. And once a week or so, I'll come out here and empty it into this pile. I don't turn it, I don't flip it, I don't shovel it, I don't do anything to it aside from add those. And I try to do a good job of adding browns and greens being everything from the kitchen, but I don't always. So because I'm not super stringent, I'm not super awesome about getting everything turned and every ratio right, this compost pile just kind of sits here and does what it's going to do. And when I think about it, maybe honestly once to twice a year I'll get out here, I'll turn everything over, I'll try to really incorporate everything in, and at the very bottom of my pile is black gold. I in fact just turned it the other day and there were worms aplenty. Everything was going really well and the stuff from the bottom of the pile was amazing. It's black gold. It's what everybody strives to get. So I turned everything over. I put all that black gold on top of what I had just added, and it's going to continue turning, aging, and composting until through fall, where I typically continue adding. I continue adding through winter even sometimes, but in the spring I'll always take whatever's here that's pretty broken down and I'll add it to our drums, because no matter what, if I put some dirt on there or I churn it all in together, it's still really good nutrients for the soil. The compost is going to add to whatever clay might be in there or whatever other random topsoil might be in there, and it's going to add nutrients for my garden to thrive. So I just wanted to show you a bit of how this is. So we've got a couple pallets that we just sort of kept in here so that the dog wouldn't get back here and start sniffing around. You can see there's about 3 pallets. We have a volunteer tomato that I just haven't taken down. I was kind of curious, honestly, of what it would turn into. And then there's our compost pile, which, I mean, hand for size, if you can even gauge that, it's not very big. But this whole space right here is actually behind this giant electrical unit, and it's in such an awkward space we couldn't use it anyway. So we decided that having a compost pile here would actually work out really well for us. So to make it easy to get into, and so that I could actually access in here with like a full-on shovel, because I do get in here, it's just not that often, and yeah, with the wheelbarrow, so that we can take everything, put it in the wheelbarrow, and then move it over to the garden. Here's my husband to help explain sort of what we've done.
Sure. Well, got a stake in here and holding the pallet up. But to this 4x4 post, I've got an old door hinge screwed to the pallet into the 4x4 post, so that we can just rotate that out and get the wheelbarrow and get the shovel in there to do what we need to do. can't really do that right now because there is a tomato plant in the way.
My volunteer tomato. He's mad at me right now. You can't tell. He's like, you should have pulled that. So what I'll do is I'll take this stake, and really this is just some random piece of pipe thing that he had that we just shoved into the ground that you can see holds this together. But when we pull this up, we take this out and it swings open like a door all the way over there so that this giant space is actually available to me. This pallet right here isn't held onto anything, but it's really just here to keep the dog out. And that pallet is actually screwed to the fence so that it doesn't move. That's what we've done. Now, we're in a suburban sort of area and we have to try and keep our smells down and other things like that. So smell is something that I'm constantly aware of in our compost pile. When I empty my kitchen scraps, I do try to add a little bit of brown, so either the leaves, or I've even shredded up some paper, I've shredded up some boxes to add into it, and there's no smell. I have made sure there's no smell here. When we first moved in, there was a little bit until I got everything corrected, but I don't want my neighbors to feel like I am a nuisance. So I made sure that I do everything right, and I make sure that it's dry enough yet wet enough to become compost without causing a smell that might be a nuisance to people that live around me. Because I've been doing this for the last 3 years since we moved into this house, we've had a couple different things that we've composted. One of those things being grass clippings or sticks and leftover pieces from like the tomato bushes whenever we're done for the season and things like that. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a tour, a little bit of information about how we're doing it now and how that works and why you should be able to do it too. This whole year, we've basically been putting our grass clippings up in this area. He did it mostly because he was annoyed with me. He wanted to know where I wanted to put the grass clippings. I said, no, you can't put them in the compost pile because I didn't know like how I was going to use all the grass clippings. And yeah, he used kind of the excuse of this pallet here. We can see this. For our pellet gun, he put a bunch of grass clippings right behind it, and then he used it sort of as a backstop. But what I wanted to let you know is that I wasn't crazy when I said, hey, look, you can put them pretty much wherever, because what happens is those grass clippings will age and they'll compost on their own. So I actually just got done. I took a bunch of the composted aged grass clippings. They've been there for probably a couple of months now. And I dug them all up with my hands. I put them in this thing because we basically created a new barrel. This has some sticks in it from the old honeysuckle. It's got the grass clippings in here. You saw the previous video where I was getting the corn bed ready over there, and some of that grass went in here. You can see that we're still adding some stuff. That's mulberry stuff. And then at the very bottom, if I were to dig in here, you'd see more aged grass clippings and some tomato pruning that I did. So what I wanted to tell you is that just because, you know, everybody says you need the browns and the greens and the this and the that and the ratios that everybody talks about, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the only way to compost. Yes, it's the fastest way. If you have those two ratios, it's about 50-50, I think, from brown to green. So things like your cardboard or your coffee grounds that are green because they're wet, anything that you can consider that might be wet is green, and anything that you might consider dry is dry and brown. So that would be like fall leaves, that's a really popular one, or sticks and very small wood chips, things like that. So composting hot is what those ratios are for. It's to get the pile to heat up, which increases the amount, decreases the amount of time that it would take for that pile to break down. So coming back over to this newly sort of made pile, this is gonna shrink quite considerably. It's just gonna lie flat, it's gonna go brown, and I'm assuming it's also gonna probably help kill some of this grass that I have living here. But the other thing it's gonna do is it's gonna help the watermelon because it's gonna kill that grass. It's gonna help some of the weeds down along with the wood chips that I've already added down here. And that's really all I want it for. Yeah, this area right here is really bad clay, and so I'm also hoping that maybe over the years, if I continue doing this or I add more wood chips like I did over there, that it'll help with the drainage here, and I can even utilize this space a little bit more better than I'm able to right now. So that's sort of just an overview of what we do here at the Farm and Garden. I don't expect everybody's composting efforts to look the same, because I just think that the important part is that you try. Those nutrients that I'm coming straight out of the kitchen are going into my pile, or at least into my garden, and those things are important to me. They help reinvigorate my soil for my plants, and they'll do the same thing for you. It doesn't take a lot of effort. It doesn't take a lot of, ingenuity. You just have to be willing to put up with it and actually do it. So guys, that's it. That's all I really had for you today. Again, man, if you like this content, can you give me that thumbs up so that I know that I'm on the right track and that you're enjoying what I have? Also, go ahead and subscribe to us and hit that notification bell. Those things all help me figure out what to do. It also helps my channel grow, so that maybe if somebody else is interested in trying their own hand at trying to make this work for themselves, they can learn some valuable tips from somebody like me who's been doing it for a couple years. So I hope you guys have a really great day. And again, I guess I'll see you at the next time. I really hope I do. And we'll see you then, guys.